Hello everyone. In a job interview, you may know the right answer. You may even have the perfect example from your experience. But unless you follow a systematic approach, your answer might never reach the interviewer the way you intend or the way you want. We see many candidates lose opportunities not because they lack experience, but because they fail to communicate it effectively. You could have the best story to tell, but if it is not structured clearly, the interviewer may never see your real potential. Today, we are going to explore one of the most effective and widely used frameworks for answering interview questions, regardless which job it is: the STAR approach. We will define it, and then we will have 3 examples to apply it on 3 different job interviews. Now, if you have ever been in an interview where you were asked, tell me about a time when you handled a difficult situation. Or, for example, give me an example of when you led a team to success. Those type of questions are called behavioral interview questions. They are designed to evaluate how you behaved in real situations in the past, because the past behavior is often the best predictor of your future performance. And that's exactly where we can introduce the STAR approach. STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. So let's break it down together. In the situation, you start by setting the scene and briefly describe the context. The context of the environment, where you were working, the challenge at hand, or the environment around the situation. For example, you can say, in my previous role as a medical manager, our team faced declining engagement from key opinion leaders after a major organizational change. You will need here to be concise, because the goal here is to help the interviewer understand the background before diving into the actions you did. Then we come to the task, and in the task you describe what you were responsible for, or what specific goals or problems you needed to address. This will help the interviewer to see your role and your ownership in the story. And if you want to continue with the same example, you can say, my task was to rebuild trust and re-establish scientific collaboration with our top key opinion leaders within 3 months. This shows initiative and accountability, that you had a clear objective and vision in front of you. Now comes the most important part, your actions. And here you explain exactly what you did, how you approached the challenge, and the reasoning behind your decisions. Use strong active verbs like I led, I initiated, I collaborated, I designed, or I implemented. For example, you can say I scheduled one-to-one scientific discussions, shared upcoming clinical data insights, or collaborated with commercial team to align on the compliant messaging that addressed the clinician's key concerns. So here you need to be more specific. This section, in fact, shows your skills, problem-solving ability, and the leadership qualities. Then it is time to share the results. What was the outcome of your actions? And here you need to highlight what you have achieved, how it added value to the organization, and ideally, you have to back it up with measurable evidence. For example, as a result, all the key opinion leaders that we visited renewed their engagement plans, and the region scientific collaboration score increased by 35% within the next quarter. Additionally, you need, whenever possible, to quantify your results by numbers, percentage, timelines, to make sure your achievements are tangible and credible. So as you can see, when you combine these 4 parts, the situation, tasks, action, and the results, you create clear, logical, and compelling story. Instead of giving just vague or general answers, you are giving now the interviewer a structured narrative that demonstrates your capability in action. And also remember that the STAR approach helps you stay focused and calm during the interviews, rather than wandering through details or moving from one part to the other. It keeps you crisp, purposeful, and easy to follow. Now let's use another example from an interview for a job of compliance manager. And let's see here where the STAR approach can be applied, or how it can be applied. In the situation, we can say, in my previous role as a compliance manager at a multinational organization, we received an internal audit report highlighting several gaps in how promotional materials were being reviewed and approved across different regions. Which is a real story, by the way. Some teams were using outdated templates, while others were bypassing the final medical sign-off due to tight launch timelines. This inconsistency created both regulatory risk and reputational exposure for the organization. We moved to the task saying, for example, my responsibility was to standardize and strengthen the promotional material review process to ensure full compliance with both internal policies and external regulations. I also had to, and we are still in the task, I also had to do this without causing a delay in the product launches, which meant balancing compliance with business agility. And then in the most important part, the action. The first step I took was to conduct a root cause analysis by interviewing cross-functional stakeholders, including medical, marketing, legal, and regulatory. The objective here was to understand where the bottlenecks occurred. Based on the findings, I designed a new digital review workflow that integrated automatic vision control, time-stamped approvals, and mandatory checkpoints for compliance validations. To support adoption, I also organized the training sessions for over 120 employees across multiple departments, explaining not just the process, but also the reasoning behind them, emphasizing how proactively compliance protects both patients and brand trust. Finally, I set up compliance dashboard to monitor adherence in real time and identify deviations early. Of course, you can customize the actions based on the question and based on the nature of your job. We will move now to the results. In the results section, you can say, for example, within 3 months, the review turnaround time improved by 28%. Compliance deviations dropped to 0. The process was later recognized as best practice during our global audit cycle, and the model was replicated in other regions. More importantly, and here you show the value that you brought to the organization, the initiative shifted the organization's culture from viewing compliance as a control function to seeing it as a strategic part. So as you see, the STAR example shows more than just what was done. It reflects leadership in action. The situation demonstrates awareness of risk. The task defines clear accountability. The action highlights analytical thinking, collaboration, and change management. And also, the results quantifies success while emphasizing long-term impact. That is to say, before your next interview, prepare 4 to 6 STAR stories from your past experiences. Select examples that highlight your teamwork, leadership, problem-solving skills, or just communication. Write them down, practice saying them, and refine them so each story fits within 1 to 2 minutes. That way, when you are asked, tell me about a time when you handled a conflict, you will not hesitate. You already have a well-structured, powerful response ready. Remember, interviews are not about memorizing perfect answers. They are about sharing authentic stories that reflect your skills, values, and professionalism. Finally, in the description of this episode, you will find a link to a PDF file that includes all the information we shared today, as well as more examples. Thank you and best of luck.